John Jordan is joining us now. He's a former naval intelligence officer. He's also a frequent guest on this show, and he has done some work as a political consultant as well. John, what is your take on this?
Well, in continuing with the nonpartisan spirit of your previous, with Dan there, basically numerous news outlets, MSNBC, CNN, Washington Post, New York Times, made a business decision here. They saw there was a huge market of disaffected Democrats on the left who were unhappy with the 26th election, and they were going to fill that market, and they were going to cater to that, and they drummed up this story and threw the gasoline on it, and they were rewarded for it richly until the story went on. But they made the assumption that the premise was correct, and it wasn't. Now that the steam has fallen out of it, according to last night's ratings, the top-rated MSNBC show is number 5 in primetime. If you add up CNN, MSNBC, the drum beaters of the narrative, they're less than half of Fox viewership last night. So they've fallen way off. But this was an economic decision made by them to fill what they perceived as a real way to make some money, and they did for a while. But now the gravy train has ended. You know, you make a great point, John. And you know what's funny about this, as I'm listening to you say it, is the CNNs of the world, the MSNBCs of the world, and they're not the only ones, but we just use them because they may be, as we say, primary. They made bank both ways. They got Donald Trump elected, right, and made a ton of money, putting him on the air for 2 or 3 hours a day when he was running as one of 30 or 40 people who wanted to be president, but they chose him. And then when he got there, they made money trying to get him out. There's an irony there, isn't there? Absolutely. All the media made a ton of money since Donald Trump walked down the escalator in June of 2015, and that includes Fox. I mean, he's great copy. He's kept people glued to the TVs, whether they loved him or hate him. Everybody made a lot of money because of Donald Trump. But only certain news outlets made a lot of money over the Russia hoax. And now they're paying the price. They've lost a lot of credibility. They're losing viewers, and advertising revenues sure to follow. And they're going to have to pivot to come up with something else.
I got to ask you about Russia, because I know this is something that's dear and near to your heart. The fact that Russia was the chosen foil for just about everyone regarding anything Trump has ever done, when we know that everybody meddles, what do you think caused that?
Well, let's take a step back. Historically, one country putting the thumb on the scale of another country's elections is nothing new. The United States has done it, interfered overtly and covertly over a roughly 100-year period, especially in South America. As look at what happened in 2015 in the Israeli elections, the Obama State Department, through a grant to One Voice, spent $350,000 trying to defeat Netanyahu, ostensibly because he was supportive of Romney in 2012. These are all documented. Where's investigated? It turns out that terms of the grant was not violated, but it was poorly written, and it did result in American essential interference. Now, you're going to point out, I think rightly so, that American recognition, U.S. recognition of the Golan Heights this last week is intended to affect, for the benefit of Benjamin Netanyahu, the outcome of the Israeli elections. So nothing's new here. In the 1990s, there was a whole scandal with the Chinese corporate money helping the Clinton re-election campaign. This is going on. There's nothing new here.
And yet they made it like it was the biggest and most important story in the world, day in and day out. And maybe that's where the real story is. The fact that for the most part, it was either an exaggeration or an untruth. And both, in my business, are just as bad. John Jordan, as usual, thanks, man, for being with us. We always appreciate your time. I'm Rick Sanchez. You found us on YouTube, and that's awesome. But you know what? I'm also live every night at 7 and 8 p.m. Eastern on DirecTV and Dish and cable and satellite, the RT app, and Pluto TV. I'll see you there.